Why was it okay for Jesus to speak in parables? But the Bible must be taken literally. The question itself sets up a bit of a false dichotomy, and I believe it comes down to understanding the context and the intention behind both the parables and the Bible as a whole. Jesus used parables as a method to convey complex spiritual truths in a manner that was accessible to the people of his time. Living here in Portland, Oregon, where we value storytelling in movies, books, and music, it's easy to recognize that parables were Jesus' way of storytelling to illustrate moral and spiritual concepts. Imagine him as a sort of profound first-century street performer in downtown Pioneer Courthouse Square, gathering folks around and sharing truths wrapped in enigmatic tales. It was about engaging with concepts on a level that transcended the literal, moving into areas that challenged the listener to think and interpret. On the flip side, the Bible as a whole being taken literally isn't as cut and dried as it might seem. The Bible is a collection of many different books, written across centuries by many authors, and includes various genres: history, poetry, prophecy, and letters, not just parables or stories. Taking into account all these genres requires different interpretative lenses. For example, one doesn't read a love poem in the same way one approaches a legal document. So, by its very nature, the Bible demands a nuanced approach to understand not just the words on the page, but also the transcendent truths being expressed. Some theological traditions do emphasize a literal interpretation of certain aspects of the Bible, such as creation, while others encourage a more metaphorical understanding. The key is to understand what kind of language is being used, and why. With the parables specifically, Jesus often ended them with a sort of rhetorical, "Let those with ears to hear, listen." He was essentially saying that the deeper meaning of his stories might not be for everyone, only for those willing to dive into the less obvious, more meditative meaning. And just like here in Portland, where we have a broad spectrum of thoughts, philosophies, and ways of life, interpretations of Scripture vary widely. There's consensus on some points, while others remain debated. It's an ongoing conversation, a living dialogue that's been happening for millennia, as people find new ways to understand these ancient texts in the context of contemporary life. Ultimately, both the parables and the rest of the Bible offer layers of meaning. They invite readers to not just consume the words, but to interact with them, grapple with them, and find personal application. It's not just about taking things at face value, but about digging into the fertile soil of Scripture to find the roots of wisdom. If you always remember the cultural, historical, and literary context, you'll be much closer to what the text is trying to say at its heart.